Okay, we're changing the heater core in a 1996 Ford Thunderbird. I'm going backwards in a series of videos because I looked online and I only found 2 videos and they didn't tell you how to do nothing. So I'm going to tell you in the backwards, so just watch the videos in reverse. So right now we're going to take this module off so that we can get to this door to take the heater core out. There's 3 bolts and I believe they're 8mm. Disconnect this connector for the module. And I'm going to put a line right through here with a paint pen to make sure that it stays exactly how I took it off. Once we got the module out of the way, and we're going to start opening the door to get the heater core out. There's my new heater core right there. Okay, now that I got the module off, I want you to see that it's like an arrow pointing in one direction. And I want you to look at this. See how the notch is not a perfect square? One side of the square is like rounded. Same with this. It only goes on one way. A monkey could put it back on. So it's going to go exactly, or the door is going to be positioned exactly how it's going to go on here. Oops, sorry. Here. So we got that off. Now we're going to take the door off. Put this right here. Okay, we also got the 4 bolts off the door now. Also, those were also 8mm. I gotta stop saying also. But those were 8mm bolts, and there was 4 of them holding the door on. And it just pops off like so. You can see how wet and soaked it was. Here's a little sponge thing. I'm gonna rinse this off with water and make it nice and clean. And there's the heater core. You can see how rotten it is on one spot. So let me put the camera down while we get that out. Maybe if I push it by the pipes on the back side, it'll push out. Yeah, so I pushed it from the front side. Now you can see that gap. And it slid right out. It's got a pretty good little snug squeeze in there. And there's my heater core. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean out my box, get all that wet crap out of there, and get it ready to stick my new heater core in there. Meanwhile, I'll rinse this piece off real quick. Okay, now that I got the heater core out, I'm just going to give you a glance at what it looks like inside. So it's pretty yucky dirty. Got to clean it out. I'm going to use LA's Totally Awesome. That works pretty good. It's a degreaser. Some of that's got Freon oil and antifreeze oil. So we're going to wipe it out real good. Then we'll get to inserting our new heater core. Okay, it's getting late, so I'm going to be hurrying up. You can see in there, I got it cleaned out except for that little area right there. And this piece right here, so I'm going to clean that up off camera. Got all this wiped up, all the dust off of here. We cleaned in there real good, so... Oh, I missed a spot down there. Well, the camera can see spots I can't. But I got it all cleaned up. This is the door up here. That's connected to there. So I'm going to clean it up off camera and start inserting the new heater core. And then I'll give you more tips and information on heater core removal and installation on this 1996 Ford Thunderbird. Okay, here's my new heater core. It's the same as my other one. So we're going to get that in there and start reinstalling the door. Okay, it took a little doing. It wouldn't go in all the way. It turns out that the 2 lines that are in the front were kind of like tweaked out a little bit. So just very softly bend them back straight the way they were and it slipped right in. Next we're going to put the door on. Don't forget to put the spongy thing on. Alrighty, we got the door back on. Remember, it's 4 8mm screws. Just remember the door is going to match up with these pins, so it'll line up perfectly once you put the sponge on it. And now we're going to go for putting the little module deal for the blend door module, or blend door actuator, something like that. Okay, now I got the blend door actuator on. Remember, it's 3 8mm bolts on that as well. Now please remember, do not over torque the ones on the door and the actuator. Everything's plastic. the screws are metal and it'll easily pull the threads out, or it'll crack the plastic, being the age of the car. You know, it's pretty old, everything's fragile and brittle. So try not to over torque those. What I did was went snug and just went a tad bit after that. And so now we went ahead and plugged back in our actuator, so we don't have to worry about that once we install it back in the car. And also there's a bracket that goes here that we're going to reinstall right now. Okay, there we go. We reinstalled the bracket. We're going to show you that's a 10mm nut. It's holding the front side of it. So now I'm going to show you, now that we got it all back together and ready to put back in the car, the 4 bolts that are holding this thing in the car. One at the top of the bracket, and then once it's installed, you're going to be on the firewall side, on the engine side of the car. 2, 3, 4. And so there's 3 back here, 1 in the front, and that's to get the actual HVAC box out. Now we're going to put the rubber seal back on the front, the one that's kind of like this, but for that. Okay, now we got the rubber cushions in. So we got 1 rubber cushion here, 2, 3. This vacuum line goes through the firewall hole into the other side, as you can see right here. Actually, that little piece should be going back there. Okay, we got the vacuum line now, right? You can see it's supposed to be on the back side, and the flat side of it should butt up against there, just to keep the weather out. So that's the way you stick the heater core in the heater box. That's the end of this part of the video. Just, you know, to get it straight, 1, 2, 3 bolts, and then that bracket that's up there on the top, that's the 4th one that inside the car. So you can have 3 11mm nuts, and I believe that was a 10mm on the inside. Okay, that's how to install your heater core box. Let's get it all, and just so that you can get a good look at it, in case you want to see where everything's at, in case you took out some vacuum lines and don't remember where they went. Maybe you change this little vacuum deal right here. But that's exactly how everything goes. And then this plug right here is vacuum, and it's stuck on a little bracket. There's a little bracket you see back there, mounted on the bracket. And to get it out, if you want to make sure it's completely totally disconnected from the rest of the car, you got that fan plug right there, the one to the resistor. There's one here that goes to this, I don't know what that box is for. And there was actually a tube that came here that screwed down to the floor of the car. So you got to take that Phillips screw out in order to get this hose out of the way, so that it can travel that way to the passenger side of the car to get out. Alright, that's the end of my video. Hope this helps. There'll be more steps as like putting it in and reinstalling it, and so on until this car is put back together. That way everyone can have a good idea on what they're getting into. Oh, and this plug to get it out from the car. So once it's in, then we'll start reconnecting wires and stuff, and I'll show you from there. Mine's a little bit more complicated because I got a stereo system in it, which if yours is factory, you wouldn't have all that. So I got a grip load more wires than what you guys do. As you can see, alarm system, stereo system, and all that jazz. So yeah, front seats out and everything. This was a job, so, and a lot of it I had to go by discovering. So hopefully my videos help anybody else who's trying to do this, and help take it apart and put it back together. The only thing is my videos are in reverse because I didn't have no help trying to figure it out going in, other than the little information the other 2 videos were showing me. Alrighty, so, oh, and just a reminder, we'll go on the passenger side of the car. In order to get to those bolts, you do have to remove this. I'm not sure, I think this is called a receiver dryer. But yeah, you need to remove that. These are the type of tools that you're going to be using to get that out. And what you do is you pop it on here. It slides all the way forward, and it's working the spring that's inside there out. So without these, you're not going to be able to get that out. And if you don't get that out, you're not going to be able to get to that bolt down there. And that's a doozy. So that's exactly where it sits at. And in order for it to come out, you got to disconnect the fuel lines. So yeah, it's a lot bigger job than what it looks like on video. The other two videos made it look so simple. This is a very time-consuming job. So you can see the firewall, what it looks like. And I'll be putting brand new heater hoses. Don't want to put those old ones on. They were a booger to get off, and one of them ripped because it's so old. So once we put the heater box on, I'll show you a video on how to reattach everything, what it's going to look like once it's all done. And the air cleaner had to be removed. So to remove this stuff, there's an 8mm bolt that goes here. You gotta undo that 8mm bolt so that the lines can have some flex so they can pull this way. Here's the clamp that holds that down. So yeah, so once you got that bolt out, then you can pull on the lines to disconnect it from the receiver dryer. And then oh, but on the way back in, you might want to change all the little O-rings before reinstalling everything. And that's what I'm going to do. Don't want no leaks on fuel or on air conditioning. This had air conditioning when I started, but we took it to a local shop and they evacuated it so that we can do the job of replacing the heater core. So, and those are what the bolts look like that we took off that's holding that box in. So it's like part bolt, part washer. It's all one piece. Alright, that's the end of this video. We'll make another video tomorrow. It's getting kind of late, no more light. And we'll go on to installing the HVAC box. Alright, see everybody later.